So we sort of touched on this earlier, where people are sort of very, I guess, aggressive towards the GNOME developers, GNOME community. How do you find yourself dealing with this? Because you're not one of the, at least from what I've seen, the general target of that harassment. Like, you're not like Tobias. I'm sure gets way worse than what you get. Tobias is just the example because he was involved in the stop theme my apps as well, which
Mm.
obviously made him a big target. But how do you find yourself dealing with this?
It's complicated, isn't it? Um, I have moments where I deal with these things well, and I had moments where I just bursted out and screwed everything up. Um, it is difficult. It is I feel like it's one of those situations where sometimes it's not even, how can I put it? How can I how can I express this? I had to explicitly remove myself from social media and comment sections and not participate in these things in these places. And to some degree shut down communications as well to only a very strict subset of places. Because the attacks come from everywhere. I can tell you, I have so many stories of abuse. It's not even fun. The Linux community treats its maintainers and its developers really badly. Even the better ones, the people who just shut up and do the work. People can be nasty online. Got everything. Got a full list. I got job harassment. I got doxing. Everything you can imagine. My Doga was death sentenced by email a few years ago. Threatening my Doga. It is complicated,
Mhm.
and I don't really know how much what else to say, because putting ourselves online exposes you to other people, and that can change people's mind, because when you see a face in a voice in a tone attached to a particular avatar, you humanize that person
Yep.
better, and then you can hear that person's voice in your inner fantasies. When you're reading a comment, you can attach a real human voice instead of just fantasizing whatever tone you're projecting into that person. um but generally, what worked for me was to withdraw myself from most of these places. And I'd say that our community does pretty bad in terms of treating people.
Oh, the audio died for a second.
Did
Uh,
it?
oh, we're back.
Oh,
Just repeat what you said the last 5 seconds.
so I was just saying that I think that people in the Linux space are pretty bad at treating those who provide them the code and the desktop that they use some incentives.
Mhm.
Um, the never, I know that there's a negativity bias in the human brain, and that you have the tendency to remember bad experiences much more intensely than the good ones.
Mhm.
Um, but it happened enough times for me to have to like take these decisions to not have a Mastodon account, a Twitter account, or whatever new social media they have. I've never had Facebook or anything like that, so I basically just am online on very specific rooms in Matrix.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's kind of nasty. I don't really know how to fix this though. Um, I really I have thought about this subject for a long time, a really long time. You will find I think in 2018 I wrote an article about what it feels like to be a free software maintainer. Um, So this is not a problem that has made itself better over the past, how much, 5 years or so? um, like my expectation is that people, let me take a step back. We have a big problem in our hands, Brody, because the Linux desktop is not cool.
Mhm.
Companies are not throwing tons of money on the Linux desktop. It's not a cool thing anymore. It was in the mid 2000s. It is not the hot new thing anymore. Companies are moving to the cloud and to like specific niches, like Linux on automotive, Linux on embedded space. That's not the Linux desktop. And I think that if people want to have a functional desktop, we have to have a change in culture in how Linux users, desktop users, interact with the people producing the desktop that they're using. Because right now, I feel like there's this very strong sense of, a consumer and a provider relationship. People come with this mindset, like you're providing me a product, and I have to co-create the product that you're doing, and my feedback is valuable as is because I have an opinion, and that's not useful. And I think we're gonna see less and less companies investing in the Linux desktop, you know, and more the community is gonna have to budget for their desktop.
Mhm.
So the community, if the community wants to have a functioning desktop in 15 years from now, in 10 years from now, perhaps, they're gonna have to stop looking at the Linux desktop developers as a free asset, just somebody who happens to do the job, and start paying the developers that they think are doing a good job, like seriously paying, because I don't think we're gonna have much more funding in the future. But what I'm seeing is the opposite. People coming with this mindset of like, I use your stuff, even though the license says in the very first line, this software is provided with no warranty and may not fit the purpose. People are coming with this particular mindset of you wrote the software. I am using your software. Why don't you do what I'm telling you to do? Why don't you add the feature that I want? And just that, like, I'm willing to sponsor you to work on this feature or things like that. I don't know how much of a tangent this got into, but it is a difficult situation. Not everybody stands the peer pressure. Many people, and this is not specific to GNOME. I have to be clear here. Like, GNOME is a famous target, but every single community has this kind of issue.
Mhm.
It is generalized. You can ask, I don't know, XFC people, and I'm sure they will have 15 different stories of abuse to tell you. I know for a fact that many KDE developers, even though the KDE community is perceived as an outsider, as a lovely and adored group of people, I know that by talking to people in the community, they suffer a lot of abuse as well. That's the current situation. How do we change that? I have no idea. In 10 years that I'm contributing to free software, and I have no idea how to change it. Perhaps talking about the problem is a good first step.
Yeah, it's certainly worth mentioning, even though I'm sure just mentioning it's going to get people to be like, why are you saying that? Grr, I'm going to be angry at you now. I
Yeah.
think what you're saying is a lot of people see themselves as customers, not just as a user of this open software. They they see themselves as a customer even without having done, the first step to being a customer, which is actually some sort of monetary funding. Now, I do want to I do want to be clear that when anyone talks about monetary funding, there is the caveat of we are well aware that there are people out there who simply do not have the ability to do that. Like, there are people from developing nations who just do not have any excess income, or people even from, places like America who are living like bill to bill, who simply cannot spare any extra dollar. Like, that's totally understandable.